Hey there guys, alright, today we are back with some more geography now. This time we're on to East Timor. I don't know really anything about it, so we're gonna learn today. Before we dive in, make sure you go and check out the links in the description box below. I would love it if you join the Discord. Now, let's go ahead and dive right in.
Imagine Portugal is having a family reunion. You got the Brazilians dominating the conversation, Angola and Mozambique are off in the corner, and Cape Verde is joking around with Sao Tome and Principe. Then some random Asian dude walks in wearing a scarf, holding a guitar, and chewing on a betel nut. Welcome to the party, East Timor.
It's
Time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Welcome to the first new country to enter into the 20th century. East Timor is small but loaded with backstory. Let's start off with the location.
Wait, what does he mean by... what? New country?
Into the 20th century. East Timor is... Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie. Welcome to the first new country to enter into the 20th century. East Timor is small but loaded with backstory. Let's start off with the location.
Yeah, the sound is very low for this video. I'm trying not to have my volume on my end.
Shall we? So first off, I know technically the country is called Timor-Leste, but just keep in mind the word Timor is derived from the Indo-Malay word for east, so when you say it that way, the country's name is actually East. However, if you really want to get into semantics, use the native Tetum name for East Timor, Timor-Lorosae, which means the rising sun of the east. Okay, so first of all, East Timor is located in Southeast Asia, occupying the eastern portion of the largest and easternmost island in the Lesser Sunda Islands, Timor, which they share with Indonesia. Right at the convergence of the Banda, Savu, and Timor Sea, just a quick hop away from the northern coast of Australia, making East Timor the only Asian country to be completely located under the equator. In addition to the east side, they also occupy the Akusi municipality, which is an exclave surrounded by Indonesia's half of the Timor island. The country also contains the islands of Atauro and Jako. The country is divided into 13 municipalities, with the capital and largest port Dili located on the northeastern part of the country. Back to Akusi. You might be wondering why East Timor is split up this way and why they even have an exclave, or why they occupy the east side. Like, wouldn't it be easier if they just controlled the entire island of Timor? In the simplest way I can put it, Portugal came, but then the Dutch came, they drew lines, and the Dutch were like, bye, and then Indonesia came, and then Portugal was like, bye, and then things got real messed up for 2 decades until finally, yay, East Timor. Dili, the
Fair enough.
capital, is the hub of culture and commerce. About a fifth of the entire population lives in the city, and you can even see Atauro Island from the distance on clear days. The country has 8 main commercial airports, mostly operating flights between Australia, Indonesia, and Singapore. And although Dili has a nice seaport, there are no international commercial cruises that dock anywhere in the country. Only freight vessels and private recreational boats are allowed in. As one of the only 2 predominantly Christian countries in Southeast Asia, the other one being the Philippines, cathedrals can be found all over, and traditional Portuguese architecture, as well as the Cristo Rei, a statue of Jesus Christ on top of a hill on a peninsula overlooking the city, which, interestingly enough, was a gift by the former Indonesian president, whom was a Sunni Muslim. I guess that's okay to do in Indonesia. Granted, it was the 20th anniversary gift back when East Timor was still integrated with Indonesia, and it was an incredibly awkward gift. It was like, hey, East Timor, you know, it's been like 20 years, and we know you're Christians and stuff, so here's a Jesus statue, so we cool?
You do realize we hate being a part of you, right?
Oh yeah, that thing. Well, I mean, you guys were like this close to being communists back in the 70s, and you know, we couldn't have that, so...
Just 5 years ago. Do you remember what happened at the graveyard in Delhi? Oh, but leave the statue. I kind of like it.
Oh, East Timor. It's pretty funny
I'm
though, because
confused.
even though West Timor is legislatively different, the people and land are virtually identical in so many ways. Kind of. Let's talk more about the land.
Bum.
East Timor has had many years of conflict, but an eternity of Southeast Asian tropical beauty. First of all, the country is predominantly mountainous, with the Ramlo mountain chain creeping across the spine of the island from the coasts to the border. The highest peak, Mount Tatamalau, located just south of Dili. Of course, located just a few degrees south of the equator, East Timor has a tropical, humid climate that allows an abundance of flora and fauna to flourish in broadleaf forests with a rich undergrowth of shrubs and grasses. Most heavily in the first conservation area, the Nino Cones Santana National Park, a great spot for tourists that includes a ton of beautiful hiking spots and the largest lake, this thing. This is also home to quite a few species of mammals and birds and reptiles, such as the Timor shrew, the yellow-crested cockatoo, the Timor green pigeon, reticulated pythons, and the cuscus, not to be confused with couscous, although to be honest, I really can't tell the difference. Just wow, the similarities. Deforestation has been a huge problem in the past, though, to clear way for farms, and on top of that, the island is subject to earthquakes and cyclones and tsunamis.
But thankfully, no volcanoes.
Nope, that'll be in the next episode. Economically, East Timor is really kind of struggling. I mean, they rank pretty low on the GDP index and they have a heavily dependent market economy driven by coffee, oil, and sandalwood. Since independence, oil has made up most of the national budget, in return earning them the title given by the IMF as the most oil-dependent country in the world. However, it's weird because it's located in the Timor Gap, a spot that's kind of disputed with Australia. It was kind of awkward because it was like, all right, we found a ton of oil. Let's start drilling.
But it's
That Australian was pretty good.
closer to me, though.
Oh, well, hey, East Timor, didn't quite see you there.
I'm kind of in a bit of a struggle.
Maybe we could share it?
Great, I'm on it. Let's go.
Coffee is a huge commodity out here. Typically, it's exported dried or
Why is Barbie so quiet, but literally everyone else is very loud in this episode?
organic and unroasted. About 46,000 coffee farms exist in the country, employing about a fifth of the entire country's population. Most people survive off of subsistence farming, which can be a little nerve-wracking considering that East Timor actually has a hungry season. If there isn't enough rain, they usually have to resort to akar, the Plan B staple, made of dried palm bark, beaten into powder, mixed with water, and cooked over fire. Otherwise, East Timorese cuisine can actually be quite scrumptious. Unlike other islands in the area, the East Timorese have a cooking style influenced by the Portuguese, so you see more ingredients like corn and pork incorporated into the dishes. Remember, a lot of the other Indonesian islands surrounding East Timor are predominantly Muslim, so you don't find many pork dishes. Of course, though, they add their own island flair with things like tamarind, coconut, and capsicum spice. Crazy, right? It's like a mix of Islander and Portuguese and a touch of Southeast Asia, kind of like the people. Let's cover that now.
Well, I mean, I would expect the people to be a mix of all those things because that is where they are located geographically. They are an island, and they were colonized by the Portuguese.
This is where things are going to get a little colorful yet mysterious. First of all, the country has about 1.3 million people and is the only Portuguese-speaking country, if you don't include Macau, in Asia. Ethnicity-wise, it's a little tricky to get the exact numbers because the country doesn't really emphasize reporting social identity in their census. Almost the entire population is of Austronesian descent. That's people who are generally mixed with Malay-Polynesian heritages. The population of East Timor actually has roots closer to the Aboriginal peoples in Australia and Papua New Guinea than the rest of the Indonesian archipelago. Add in a pinch of possible Portuguese ancestor and voila, you have an East Timorese person. Nonetheless, distinct tribes and people groups inhabit the area. The largest groups, to the best of calculations, are the Tatum at about 10%, the Mambe at around 8%, the Tukudede, Galali, and Kema at around 5%, and the rest is just kind of like a ton of other smaller Timorese people groups and tribes, with a small population of Europeans and Hakka Chinese. Once again, those numbers are general estimates and probably not fully accurate, but in the ballpark. I actually contacted the East Timorese embassy in Washington, D.C., and even they didn't have the exact numbers. It's that complex.
Just wait till you get to my episode.
The country
That dude is jacked. I wish I had arms that big.
has two official languages, Portuguese and Tetum, a native language which actually has various dialects in itself. However, there are over 30 regional languages and dialects spoken throughout the country. To this day, Indonesian is considered a work language, whereas English is just starting to make its debut considering how much business potential lies in English speakers. Speaking of which, East Timor uses the US dollar as its currency. They do have their own centavo coins, however, those coins are actually minted in Portugal. Culture-wise, East Timor is kind of like a vibrant blend of Islander, Portuguese, and Indo-Malay influences. You can see Islander rituals, clothing, dance, and handicrafts all over that are unique to the Timorese people. Okay, now this is where things are gonna get a little confusing. Let's talk a little bit about West Timor. West Timorese people have some similarities, yet there's a reason why they deliberately choose to stick with Indonesia. For one, just like East Timor, the entire East Nusa Tenggara province of Indonesia is predominantly Catholic. Unfortunately, though, this is kind of where the similarities end. Although both are Catholic, West Timor speaks Indonesian and predominantly comes from the Uwab Meto speaking tribe that is actually quite different from the rest of the island peoples. This, in conjunction with a higher economic index, is partially the reason why West Timor never really decided to join East Timor in making a single Timor country. Money and language are powerful things. Nonetheless, the two sides of the island still find ways to cooperate, as they do with other parts of the world. A transition. East Timor is kind of new to the game of self-sovereignty, but they definitely don't go at it alone. First of all, they get along with other Portuguese-speaking countries. Brazil, although far away, likes to follow up once every so often, and as a sister city to Dili, Macau is like the other Asian sibling that East Timor occasionally gets to see once a year. Despite the past drama, Indonesia still does good business with East Timor, and about 50% of all exports come from Indonesia. They've moved on, and they're kind of cool now. Their best friends, though, would have to be Portugal and, surprisingly, Mozambique. Portugal has always held ties with East Timor even after they left in the 70s, and today, Portugal hosts boasts quite a few Timorese citizens, likewise Portuguese in Timor. Mozambique is like the cool friend that they met when they were both colonies. As the closest African Lusophone country, they shared culture and ties for centuries. Many political leaders have actually lived in exile in Mozambique, including President José Ramos Horta and former Prime Minister Mari Alkatiri. In conclusion, East Timor, or Timor-Leste, or Timor-Loroçae, has held on fiercely to its Portuguese roots and is proof that sometimes culture in itself is enough to stand up and stand out. Stay tuned, Ecuador is coming up next.
This was Geography Now, East Timor. This was one of the weaker episodes. I don't know if it's just like, I think I was just mainly getting bothered by how quiet Barbie was compared to like literally every other sound. Every other person in the video was loud in comparison to Barbie. So like I had to constantly be like looking down here at my volume thing and turning it on my end just so that my mic doesn't pick up the other people talking after I, turned up my volume so I could hear Barbie, and then I gotta quickly turn it down when someone else shows up. And I also had to turn it down when it was one of their transitional screens. So it could be it, but also it just felt like they didn't have much to talk about in this episode, and that they were trying to do what they could to extend the video to their normal length. That's what it felt like to me. So this was a bit of a miss in my opinion, but I still enjoyed Geography Now. I hope you guys did too. Remember to hit that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.